I had to chuckle a few months back when I read a story in the Wall Street Journal. There was an article announcing that Jim Tomsula had just become the new head football coach for the San Francisco 49ers. Well, I was intrigued. I love football. But one of the very first questions he was asked by a journalist was, what do you think about social media and your team? And he immediately, without batting an eye, said, I don't like it, I don't use it, I'm against it, I don't see any use for it. Basically, he was an old school guy. And I chuckled because I thought, oh my gosh, I can relate to this guy. But I continued reading, and I began to see how, within a month's time, Jim Tomsula had begun to change his tune. For instance, he was holding his regular 2-hour meetings with his football players, whose average age is 25 years old, and they weren't able to sit through a 2-hour meeting and stay engaged. Well, you feel this too, so do I. And so he began to break up his 2-hour meetings into 4 30-minute segments. And he'll literally say, all right, 30 minutes, take 5, go get your social media fix, and then he'll bring them back in. He's got staff coming in on a regular basis, and outsiders too, to talk to him about new apps that his teammates might be using and engaging in. Just not so he can be like them, but so he can understand them. They've decided to use digital means to hand out the play schedule and the practice schedule. They used to do it all on paper, but he said it's actually working better when we send it digitally. And now they're using icons and images far more than words. And again, this is all stuff we've been talking about, but I chuckled my way through the article when I thought, here's one more adult who's learning to connect with this next generation. These young professionals, like so many employers, that here he's going, I've got to learn. I've got to lean in. In fact, I've got to meet them halfway if I want them to become who they need to become here. So in one of the chapters of the new expanded version of the Generation IY book, I talk about this new generation of young people inaugurating so many firsts. I don't know if you stop to think about it, but one of the reasons we're so challenged at teaching them, parenting them, employing them, coaching them, is because they are introducing so many firsts. We didn't get a manual with these kids when they came to our classroom or when they were birthed in our home. My mom and dad couldn't tell me how to raise a kid with a portable device in their hand. They never raised a kid with a portable device in their hand. So stop and think for just a minute. I want to give you a few of these that I share in the book. This is the first generation growing up today that doesn't need adults to get information. I mean, that's just weird. We used to be the ones who were the grand brokers of all the data. They needed us because we had the information. Well, now, thank you, Google, they don't need us for information. But listen, they do need us to play a new role, interpretation. Let me help you make sense of all that you know. Let me give context to all the content. This is the first generation that enjoys external stimuli at their fingertips 24/7. I mean, they've always got some phone in their hand. Even in developing nations, I found this to be true. Well, I know that doesn't sound like the end of the world, but I've often thought as a father of 2 20-somethings in my own home, if they've always got a portable device in their hand with some ping coming at them, some external stimuli, will they ever develop internal motivation where they don't need something or Lady Gaga or whatever to get them going in the morning? Finally, real quick, this is the first generation that will learn more from a portable device than a classroom. That portable device that they have in their hand will become a greater and greater means for informing and directing their lives. It's been for fun so far. Now it's taking on a larger role, particularly with Gen Z coming up, born after the 20th century. In fact, my prediction for the future of education, even though I'm not a prophet, is within 10 years, there will be a teacher in front of a class, and he or she will have a monitor, and they'll be able to monitor the speed at which all the students are learning the information. But they will be learning at their own pace with a portable device in their hand, almost like homeschool, public school merging together. Well, I offer a number of others and then some practical ideas on how do we lead this new batch of kids coming through. I share some data that might be surprising to you, but I'm hoping this chapter becomes especially meaningful as you get ideas on how to lead this kid that you know is inaugurating so many first, and you are the first one to actually understand how to direct them in their life.